Greetings, Earthlings. You're listening to the Probing Aliens podcast. I am your host, Golf, aka Putt Putt, and today we're probing tattoos. When we return. And today I am joined by my lovely sister, Maya.
Thank you.
How are we doing today?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing great.
Thank you. I am always glad to have one of my family members on, trying to put everybody on the whole map and to let the whole world know what they're doing so that more people can go to you for their tattoos.
Awesome. Well, I'm grateful that I'm here. Thank you for having me be on your podcast.
We are recording at my house because my sister and my brother are obviously visiting in town all the way from Utah.
Great place. Great place.
Is it a great place?
It's a great place to visit. Yeah.
So I've only visited, I think, like 3 times now. But could you give me a little rundown on Utah from, someone who hasn't visited before?
Yeah. Okay. So great place to visit, but also a great place to live, a great place to have a family if you're into that stuff. It's just very clean. You're not going to see a lot of riffraff there. I mean, honestly, when you go outside of Utah, we're in a bubble in Utah. They make fun of us native Utah people because we're in this little like safe space bubble in Utah. Like nothing bad happens in Utah for the most part. And then when you travel outside of Utah, you see all of like the actual world. Like, you
know,
that's kind of how we feel whenever we travel outside. It's like, whoa, there's a world outside of like safe spot Utah. You know what I mean? It's just crazy so Utah is just very like clean. Like that's the best way I can describe it. It just looks like kind of the suburbs of the United States.
Okay. It's just like, because I know in Salt Lake, it's like a whole like valley, right? Surrounded by mountains.
Pretty much. So you have Salt Lake, the city, right? With all the suburbs and stuff. And then you have downtown, which is completely different. It's like a little piece of like the outside world, I guess you could say.
Right.
So, what did you ask me again?
So like in Utah, right? You're a Utah native.
Yeah.
Growing up in Utah is completely different from like where you've seen like the rest of the world.
The rest of the world, yeah.
Compared, like, let's say for example Atlanta compared to Salt Lake.
It was like a culture shock leaving Utah for the first time. Yeah. It's like everywhere else is just super dirty. It's like people just look different. You go to Utah and people look like they haven't seen the outside world is the best way I can describe it. You really wouldn't understand unless you lived in Utah or were a native in Utah.
Right. Because I visited Salt Lake and I remember walking around and it was really clean. Like there's no trash anywhere. I didn't really see a lot of homeless people. I don't know if you guys have like a problem there.
We're starting to get a problem in Salt Lake City. The homeless are starting to become not really an issue, but they're growing more numerous, and it's just because California is sending all their homeless to us.
Right.
Because they don't know what to do with them.
How do they even get from California to Salt Lake?
There's rumors that they're being sent in droves, like by bus.
Really?
We haven't seen it, but we think that they send them in the middle of the night.
Wow, that's actually crazy.
I know.
That's
crazy. A rumor that's going on right now.
Because the last
I don't know if it's real, but
last time I went, I remember just like seeing trees like in the middle of the roads. That was something completely new to me because we don't have that here in Atlanta. It's just all like gridlocked kind of.
Well, it's like trees everywhere.
Yeah, there's
Atlanta.
trees. Well, that's true. We are the city in the forest.
Yeah.
But like you don't see like trees inside of the city, like in the roads itself compared to Salt Lake.
We use trees more for like decoration.
Yeah. And that was kind of refreshing, like from Atlanta. I was just like, wow.
Contrast to Atlanta.
Yeah.
I guess that's something different too, because so when you're in Utah, you definitely feel a difference in pollution too.
Yeah.
Because we kind of sit in like a bowl, so like the mountains kind of like surround you, right? And then they like keep all of the inversion from like the pollution from the cars and all of that in the city. So you can like literally feel that when you do leave Utah, like for example here in Georgia, so fresh, the air,
Really?
so different.
When I was out there, the air was kind of crisp, but it was dry.
Really?
Yeah, for me.
Is that how you felt?
Yeah, that's how I felt.
That's weird.
It was really, really dry, and sometimes it was hard for me to like breathe. I don't know if it was like the difference in altitude or
could be the dry air too.
Yeah, dry air.
Yeah, altitude because we are in the mountains maybe. That's something I noticed immediately off the plane. I'm like, wow, it smells so good out here. Like the air is actually clean and fresh. But
and then I know with your hair, right? Your hair usually gets frizzy every time you come here.
As soon as you step off the plane here in Georgia, at least me, I feel like I'm drenched in like water, like a splash of water to the face.
That's
like
crazy.
By the air. Yeah.
That's
my
crazy.
skin literally drinks in the air here because it's so dry in Utah. Like so extremely dry. My hair is always like splitting and everything. Like,
do you usually break out?
Constantly dry. No, not really break out, but my skin is super dry, and everybody has dry skin in Utah.
Yeah.
It's just something that people live with. So you really have to keep up on your lotion and your skincare in Utah, or else you're just gonna be very ashy.
Right.
But here in Georgia, you don't have that problem.
And what do you think about Georgia so far? After this is your third visit?
Fourth
visit?
Yeah. I really love Georgia a lot. There are some scary areas, but I guess like everywhere, there's nice places and then there's not so nice places. I guess that's everywhere you go. But I definitely want to get a house out here. If I'm rich and famous someday, I wouldn't mind having a house out here just to be around family. It's really nice.
Where would you want to live?
Probably one of the nice areas. I heard Alphareta's good.
Alpharetta? Yeah, Alphareta's not too bad.
Alpharetta. Was it Duluth? That's good, or is that
Duluth, where we went to go karaoke, Koreatown, all of that.
Is that a good place?
I like Duluth, yeah.
Okay.
There, I don't know because I know Pleasant Hill, which is Koreatown, which is also Duluth, but then there's like downtown Duluth, and then there's Peachtree Corners. I don't know if that's still Duluth. They're trying to annex away from the city, I think, or is that Brookhaven? I'm not too sure. And then there's Berkeley Lake, which is like more the rich area of Duluth.
I would definitely want to migrate towards the rich area if I can in the future. Not to sound snooty or anything, but just because I'm so used to the safety that Utah provides. So if I were to ever get a house anywhere, it would definitely be like something similar to what Utah gave me my whole life.
And would you say that you kind of grew up in a comfortable home?
Yeah. I mean, as far as like sheltered well, I would say. I mean, it wasn't really an easy childhood, if that's what you're asking. So like, safety, always safe. My parents were very, very strict, always kept us very under wraps. But yeah, growing up was hard. I was, my parents were constantly fighting. It created, a very unstable type of feeling for me as a kid. I took it very, very, not well, I guess. I feel like some kids, like, they go through similar experiences, with their parents not, getting along.
Right.
I think it affects some people differently than others because they're fighting and they're bickering and they're threatening each other to divorce all the time. Really caused me to become really withdrawn as a kid. So I was constantly feeling very unsafe. So even though I was in a very safe space, I always felt unsafe growing up. And I think it was just because of that reason. We were constantly moving back and forth between our family, like parents. My parents split up and then we would live with our aunts and our uncles. Like we were always kind of moving around. So a lot of instability within the family, I guess you could say.
Right. And do you have any siblings?
Yeah. So I have one little sister. She's 26, I think. Wait. She's 27.
27? Okay.
Yeah. She just had a baby last year.
No, that was the applause. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she had a baby last year, and I have a little brother. He is 21.
Oh, he's 21?
Yeah, he's 21 now.
Oh, wow.
21 or 22. I'm terrible at remembering.
That's actually crazy. I thought he was older than me.
No.
He looked older than me.
He looks so old.
Yeah.
He looks like a little like Viking.
Yeah, yeah. He has a full on
big
beard.
Viking, I mean.
Yeah, I was like, what the heck,
Yeah,
dude? And
he
he's
looks
younger
like a
than me.
30-year-old.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. He is a huge gamer, like crypto guy, into all of those ventures. So he kind of does his own thing. My sister and I are very, 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 very close.
Okay, so
But
you
yeah.
have a closer relationship with your sister than you do with your little brother.
Definitely love my little brother, but we're definitely in different worlds. I feel like.
So like whenever you do talk to your little brother, is it like awkward at all, or?
It actually is a little awkward. I've never had anyone ask me that, but now that I think of it, yeah, it is awkward. Like it's hard for me to kind of connect with him because I don't really have anything,
Right?
no common ground really. Whereas with my sister, like we tell each other everything, we talk about everything. So yeah, with my little brother, it's kind of like talking to a Martian.
I mean, because for me, like growing up, I do have siblings, but like they're all either half siblings or step siblings.
Right.
Yeah, so it's kind of awkward for me to talk to
Kinda
my
connect
siblings.
with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I haven't really seen my older sister as often. I've probably only seen her 3 times in my whole entire life, and she's older. She's like mid-30s now, I think, and she already has 3 kids. And then obviously I have Bryce, which is my stepbrother. And it's not awkward talking to Bryce just because like I feel like we kind of grew up in a similar environment.
You guys are similar too, like your personality types mesh well.
Yeah, and then I have 3 little brothers now. I have 1 baby, and obviously, you know, I'm still raising him, so it's not really awkward.
Yeah, you're like the dad.
Yeah,
You've
I feel
been
like
the dad.
I feel like a dad every time I'm with him, but like a playful dad.
Yeah, definitely a playful dad. It's like the playful uncle / dad, but you're the brother.
Yeah,
which is
I'm
crazy.
the brother. Yeah, and then with Aiden, it is weird sometimes at times because I feel like we don't really have like common ground, and like the environment that we both grew up in is different than what we grew up with. And then my other brother, I don't really see him as much anymore because he's with his mom.
Right.
Yeah, so it's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I only ask because like for me it is kind of awkward talking.
You kind of understand like what that feels like. It is weird like looking at it though. Like I wonder how my sister and I were so close.
I think it's easier because you guys were, you know, girls, and you guys are kind of close in age almost.
Kind of like 3 years apart.
3 years apart.
I think.
Yeah.
And then my little brother's like 8 years apart from me.
Yeah,
so.
basically younger than me.
Yeah. So it was difficult connecting with him, but yeah, I wish we were closer. I'm working on trying to get closer to him, so we'll see.
And are your parents still together?
They are still together.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should have split up. I feel like looking back, I feel like they should have split up just because of the turmoil it caused in my little kid brain. Like I was just so confused all the time. Didn't affect my sister at all. She didn't care growing up, but for me it caused so much like anxiety, and like I think just because I've told you before, like I'm very much like an empath.
Yeah.
I feel like energy in the room, and so when they were tensed and they were fighting, I just soaked that up like a sponge.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, watching them kind of work on their marriage and stuff throughout the years, I did wish that they would have just split up back then. They get along really well now, which is cool to see.
They're good now.
Oh yeah, they're good now. But I almost wish that they would have split up back then, which is kind of weird.
Why is that?
I think just because of the mental, like, you know, turmoil it caused in my brain. And maybe that's a selfish thing to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think maybe I would have grown up a little bit differently. Maybe I would have had more confidence now as an adult or a struggling young adult. Because again, I went through a lot of like issues with making friends in high school.
Yeah.
Like, I was constantly like just so insecure. And maybe I'm trying to blame that on my parents.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the upbringing. Maybe it could have been something
like your
completely
environment.
different.
Right.
I mean, maybe it wasn't even them. But like I try to rack my brain and try to like articulate what could have caused me to be like this, because I was the type of kid growing up that would go into like the bathroom stall and eat my lunch there.
Oh,
because I was
really?
too scared
Oh.
to interact with people.
Mm.
Like that was literally me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just couldn't connect with other people because I was just so scared.
Right.
I was so like
the anxiety was
insecure.
just kicking in.
Yeah. Like me, I just wouldn't talk to people. And when I talked to people, I felt like I looked like an idiot. Like I sounded like an idiot.
Yeah.
So I would just rather not
I
interact.
completely get that. Yeah.
Like hella social anxiety.
Right. And so how do you think growing up in that environment shaped you to who you are as a person now?
So I wouldn't say that experience shaped me as a person, as who I am now. I would say it really started when I had to start making money because my parents were like, so I think I started working when I was 16 and I worked at Aeropostale.
That's really young.
Yeah,
16.
I was super young.
Holy
and I was a seasonal worker. And I was terrified, let me tell you, because again, I had so much social anxiety and I was like, I'm going to have to go in there every day, stand for 8 hours and talk to people and greet people. And I was absolutely terrified out of my mind. I was like, there's no way. I was like, I couldn't even talk to people in high school. What makes me think that I can talk to people, in a work environment? But like, you're forced to do that. Your management forces you to talk to people or else you're going to get fired.
Yeah.
So my little shy self, like I would greet people, oh, hey, welcome to Aeropostale in my quietest voice, But slowly kind of practice, that practice helped. And gradually I started coming out of my shell. But man, that again, it was seasonal. So it was like 3 months and then they
At a time?
Yeah, so they fired me for the Christmas season. And then I took a break off of work. But that was kind of like my first intro into talking to people, literally, which is crazy now that I think about it. But then when I was 19, I started working at an insurance agency, State Farm.
Okay.
Also super terrified.
Yeah.
The reason why I got that job is because I spoke Spanish at the time.
Oh.
And so the agent wanted someone that was bilingual and someone that was kind of like new and, unexperienced.
Kind of fresh. Yeah.
He came to my parents' house to get us signed up for insurance. And my mom was like, hey, can you give her a job? She speaks Spanish. And he's like, okay, yeah, I'm looking for someone. So yeah, it was kind of word of mouth from my mom.
Okay.
And I just remember the first day, like I had to take phone calls and stuff there. And it was almost like a switch in my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've had that before where it's like you kind of get into like a work mode. You're like, all right, like just something clicks in your head. Like, all right, I gotta get this work done. Yeah.
So it's like I had the shy Maya, right? Who I have known my whole life. And then I had work Maya, who had to like step it up, come out of my shell and talk to people and interact with people in person, not only just over the phone, but in person and be articulate and be like, structure a sentence correctly and not stutter and stuff. And it took work. Like I remember like I would shake when I talked to people. Like I would like stutter a lot. And then eventually with all this practice, cause I worked there for 4 years.
Oh, wow.
So it was just practicing every day how to communicate with people. And I would even watch stuff on YouTube like how do I communicate efficiently with people professionally. And so that taught me a lot. And then at the beginning, I forgot to mention, so when you go into work for insurance, you have to get several licenses.
Yeah.
In school, so amongst being incredibly shy, painfully shy, I was not the best student. So I failed every class I've ever taken from elementary school all the way up into high school. I passed high school with packets because I couldn't pass one class. And so
what is packets?
So it's something that Utah does for a failing student. So say that a student doesn't pass high school, like literally fails all 4, like, what do you call it, semesters?
Yeah, semesters here.
Yeah. Or years of high school.
Okay.
Didn't pass anything. So they'll give you a packet. Basically, it's a summary of the whole year of like every subject you should have been paying attention to. And then you do a little bit of homework and then a test at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And if you pass those tests, they'll give you a high school diploma, basically.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I had to do that. But so in insurance, you have to take tests in order to get your licenses.
Yeah.
You have to study and take tests.
State tests, federal tests. Yeah.
So it's called property and casualty, I think, for...
PNC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess how many times it took me to pass that test?
I'm going to guess 4 times.
No.
More?
It was 7 times.
7 times?
And
Holy
the employer,
shit.
every time I failed, you could tell he was so sick of me, but like he didn't want to get rid of me because I spoke Spanish.
Yeah. He
like,
believed in you. He believed in you. That's hilarious.
So it took me 7 times to pass that thing, and every time I failed, I would go up to him and I would give him, like, I would cry, and I'd be like, I can't believe I failed this. But to be honest, I wasn't studying. Like I was so lazy back then.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, studying for those insurance tests, because I did do insurance too, but I didn't do property and casual. I did life and health insurance.
I also did that one.
Yeah.
For State Farm.
I remember just studying for those tests, and it was super difficult to just stay focused because it was a lot to take in. It was a lot to take in. And then you have to take those tests every 2 years to renew your license. And so I just remember like going through this and like, dang, I have to take this test every 2 years. Like,
what did you take it for? Did you also work in insurance?
Yeah, I did do insurance.
No
yes.
way.
Yeah, I did insurance with
your dad.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I finally passed it, that was awesome. No more tears, like, you know. And then I actually focused on working on my communication skills. In those 4 years, I never got a raise. So I was paid $11 an hour.
What the fuck?
And then finally, I got sick of it because, so let's see, I was 23, I think. 23,
from
24.
19 to, and then you said for 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so around like
years.
23, 24. Okay.
So for 4 years, my dad had been working as a stockbroker at E-Trade for a long, long time. And they were hiring people. And I was like, you know, I'm so sick of this insurance job. I've given 4 years of my life. Yes, he let me pass, you know, he gave me all those chances with those tests. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to mention, it took me like 14 times to pass the life and health. Again, I was just so unmotivated. I know if I just sat my ass down and I studied, I probably could have passed.
Right.
But anyway.
14 times is insane.
Insane. But he really wanted me there. And I didn't force a raise, right?
You know, yeah.
I didn't complain about a raise.
You know, props to that guy for giving you a chance. 14 times is crazy.
Well, it's also because I didn't complain about getting a raise.
Huh.
In all those
he was
years,
like, oh,
until the very end.
He was like, I could take advantage of this girl.
Exactly.
Let me
So it's like, it paid off for him.
Yeah.
But, so that job kind of prepared me for the next phase of my life. So, like I said, my dad was a stockbroker. And E-Trade was hiring like a lot of people at the time. And because of all of my experience with insurance for those 4 years, I was like, what if they gave me a shot? Because usually they only hire people with college degrees.
Right.
That have been in the finance
like
world. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was a long shot. But my dad was like, yeah, I'll try to get you like an interview, you know? So, and then of course you have to get your licenses in order to be in finance world.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, if I could do it at my last job, I can do it with this one.
After 7 and 14 tries,
they're not going to give me that many times, you know? So I promised myself, I was like, if they give me the opportunity, I'm gonna study my little ass off and get my Series 7. So, long story short, I went in for the interview, and I had all this practice with my previous job on how to like be professional, how to interview correctly, and I got it right away. I got the job right away.
Wow,
they
like
liked me.
at that interview, they said.
At that interview, and this is me with like a high school diploma that I had to win with packets.
Crazy.
Oh, and then I forgot to mention, with the packets, I paid people to do it for me. I paid made people
Work smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Wow.
So that's what it showed is like I passed. I only had a high school degree.
Mm-hmm.
And they only accepted people that had college degrees.
Mm-hmm.
So I was shooketh. My family was shooketh. And then, came the time I was training and everything. And they put you in this little class, right, where you're expected at the end to take the Series 7 test.
Okay.
So they kind of train you for a little bit, but you have to do most of the work at home and study and everything. So I'm studying for 8 hours a day at work, and then I go home and I'm studying for another like 4 to 5 to 6 hours at home.
That's a lot of studying.
I actually sat my ass down and I was like, I'm going to do this.
That's crazy.
It was weird. Like I felt this like passion in my soul, like
something like just lit you up.
It did. I was like, you know what? I want to be like successful. I want to be in the finance world. Like I don't know why I had that passion back then. But I was like, I want to have that title of
You don't think
stockbroker.
it was like money, like the money that kind of motivated you?
It was money, but it was also I wanted to prove to myself that I could do hard things.
Okay.
I remember like the money was a factor, but it was mostly like I want to prove to myself that I can make it.
Right, like you wanted to be better for yourself.
Yeah, I didn't want to be this shy person anymore. I wanted to be someone who had a fiery like soul, a fiery outlook on life. Someone who had that confidence,
right,
in every facet of my life.
Yeah.
So finances, but also just within my being, And I felt like this was the opportunity. So, I studied every day like that. 8 hours at work, because they're training you at work, but then an additional like 5 to 6 hours at home. And I was exhausted to the point where I burned out. I think it was like 6 weeks of that nonstop. Where I was
6 weeks.
Had
wow.
my nose in those packets.
For someone who didn't study like that, 6
I never
weeks
studied.
Is a lot.
I never ever put myself through something like that. Ever in my life. Never buckled down and studied. That's why I didn't pass any class I've ever taken.
Yeah.
So, studied my ass off. And then when I took the test, the Series 7, I passed it the first time. And I remember when, like, I clicked the next screen. Have you ever been to a testing room?
I have been to a testing room, yeah.
You know how nerve-wracking that next screen is?
Yes.
When you're, like, ready to tally up the...
Yep. It's like, do you want to review before you submit your test?
My soul left my body, let me tell you. When I clicked that next screen and I saw the loading screen, I was like, there's no way I passed this thing. There's no way. But then I saw that the percentage came up and it said 72.
Hell
and
yeah.
I remember so I sat there for a minute staring at the screen. And then I just started bawling.
At the testing center.
At the testing center. So I'm like bawling, walking out with my little paper, I had to walk around. So we took it at a college. So they had the testing center at a college. I remember taking a walk several times around the building, just bawling because I couldn't believe that I did it.
Right.
I couldn't believe it. And so, yeah, that I feel like that moment in my life is what really, really shaped or really, really what formed who I am today is like, I proved to myself then and there that I could do hard things. I could be smart. I could be eloquent, and I could communicate with people and be professional. I could make a name for myself, and I could have the prestige. I didn't have to be this quiet person that hid in bed all day.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was pretty profound. That was a profound moment in my life. I think that's who shaped me to who I am today. Me talking to you how I am right now. You would have never seen that from Maya 10 years ago. You never. I was a completely different person in my early 20s.
Yeah, because like when I did first meet you, you're pretty shy.
I was shy even back then.
Yeah.
And that was like 5 years ago?
5 years ago,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Well, also I forgot to mention, I think another thing that shaped me was my husband, honestly. So I still had that shell a little bit on, right? Even with all my years in customer service, but that shell was still on. I still had a lot of trauma. I was an idiot in the dating world, right? And a lot of boys broke my heart, but...
The dating world is scary.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrifying. And it wrecked me. I put myself through it though. Like, you know, brainwashed myself with a lot of stupid things.
Right.
You know,
Right. So you put yourself through that. Like you wanted to experience dating. Okay.
Yeah. Like so you know how Disney promises you the fairy tale like type situation? I expected that out of everyone that I dated, right? I expected that feeling from everybody, but it just turned out to be a lot of like, you know,
a lot of bullshit.
Yeah, a lot of failed expectations, I guess. A lot of just what would you say? I guess friends with benefits type situations that never went anywhere.
Right.
And in the end, I thought I deserved that. I was like, you know what? It's probably because I'm shy, I'm boring, I'm not this bubbly, like outgoing girl. Like, I guess it's just gonna be me for the rest of my life. I'm just gonna, you know, be that side chick, and I was fine with that. So, but then I met Bryce, and then he taught me that that's not the case. Like, you don't have to be this girl that's just the side chick. That's just the girl that you see at night. Right. You know, like he taught me that I was actually like worth being wife material and stuff like that. And again, a lot of that stemmed from insecurities too. So it spilled over into
He's the
my
one who
dating life.
showed you that the princess life is the real life.
Amen. There you go. Yeah. Exactly. I called him Superman. You know, because his last name was Kent.
Yeah.
I did.
I mean, he definitely looked like Superman back then. Yeah.
Like an Asian Superman.
Yeah. And now look at him. He's fat.
He's still handsome.
Yeah, I say that with love.
A lot of love.
He
just has extra love now.
Extra love, yeah. A lot of love on his body for sure. Exactly. He's showing it.
Yeah, no, he shaped me a ton. I think that's why you saw a shy person still, even like a couple years ago. He took me completely out of my shell. So it's about finding the right person too. So yeah. It's a success you find in your life, and then picking the right partner. I think is what shaped me a lot.
So when you did meet Bryce, right? Like, did you know what you wanted in a guy, or?
I thought I knew what I wanted. Yeah, I had this whole list, and then I was dating the complete opposite of what I had on my list. And I wish I could remember what the list said.
You actually wrote it down?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, wow.
I literally had a man list. I put it on my vision board. Okay. And then I do remember on my vision board. Have you ever seen The Lord of the Rings?
No, I actually haven't seen it.
Okay. Well, there's this character in The Lord of the Rings. His name is Aragorn. Okay. He is the hero of the whole story, basically. Okay. He was like the definition of the man that I wanted in my life. So what he stood for was the ultimate type of masculine man. So very stoic, very organized, put together, just. He believes in love and just everything good. You know, anything you can think of that a good man should have as a quality, Aragorn has. So I wrote all of that. Okay. And then I remember at the top of my list, he had to be sexy.
Sexy.
Yeah, that was literally on there.
Number one thing, sexy.
Number one. Number two, good hygiene.
Okay. So if he wasn't sexy, you're off the list.
Exactly. But the rest were all the other qualities that I listed. Oh, and ambitious. Okay. I think everybody puts that on their list too.
But yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to date an ambitious person?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was dating all these guys. And I was dating this one guy who ditched me and went to Baltimore without telling me. We were actually like on and off for 2 years. Okay. He ditched me, deleted me off of social media, moved to Baltimore. And then I met Bryce. And I was like, man, you know, I still have feelings for this guy that totally ditched me for some reason.
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
I know. And so it was funny because when I met Bryce, I was like, you know, he's such a nice guy, but, you know, this other guy, man, should I wait for him? And then he ends up reaching out to me. Hey, I'm sorry I deleted you on everything. I'm going through a lot. My grandpa died. And I was like, whatever.
Yeah,
like,
you should let that person know. Like, if that person is in your life,
exactly.
you
So
should definitely let them know as soon as possible.
you would think,
Right.
but I was just a side chick again. I was just that for him, which I understand now. But I was hoping for something more, right? But so he reaches out to me and he's like, hey. Basically, he tells me, long story short, you know, that happened. My grandpa died, but I would like for you to wait for me. He's like, I might be out here for a year, though. If we can do long distance, that would be great, is basically what he said.
What the fuck?
And I was like, my dumbass was like, I really like this guy. Maybe I should wait. But then I was like, you know what? I deserve better. And so Bryce invited me to go to Arizona with him. And I went to Arizona with him. And I ended up deleting that guy and blocking him because I was like, Bryce is everything on my man list.
Yep.
Everything.
Number one, sexy.
Exactly. Good hygiene. And then the rest of it was great too. But yeah, it was weird like that he happened to pop out at that moment when I was so in love with that guy.
Right.
So.
Do you think that you meeting Bryce at that time was kind of like meant to be?
Meant to be, absolutely. I think it was definitely meant to be because I was spiraling hardcore, when I was dating. Because I not only was I dating that guy, I was also dating a bunch of other guys too. You know, just trying to live that not that whole life, but the,
I was gonna say whole life. Yeah. I was gonna say
you know how girls
life.
They wanna
the bad
they wanna live the
phase.
experience. Yeah, the bad bitch phase.
Yeah.
They want to put that title on.
Is that even a phase? Being a bad bitch?
They say it is.
Because like, if you're married, aren't you a bad bitch? But you're a bad bitch for one person only.
I'm only a bad bitch for Bryce.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you only want to be a bad bitch for one person?
Right.
I just feel like I experienced all that and it's not it. Not it. It just, again, like it makes you spiral. When you have all of these people like on the back burner, when you have all of these people that are like, what would you call them? Situationships.
Yeah, situationships.
Dude, if you already have a fragile mind like I did, that's one great way to make your fragile mind even more fragile. Like, it'll break you.
Yeah. And plus, like, taking advantage of people like that, you're just gonna fuck it up for the next person.
And then it creates the spiral, and that's what we're seeing today in the dating scene. So, yeah, I definitely contributed to that messy culture that we see today.
Hey, but now you found someone that you absolutely love.
And now I advocate for being in a healthy relationship, monogamous relationship, marriage, and waiting for that because it's worth it when you find the right person. Right.
And so, transitioning, you being a tattoo artist, right? Like, do you meet clients that also kind of come to you as a therapist in a way?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So being a tattoo artist is interesting because you are creating, so I feel like the pain kind of brings out the emotions of the people. It's weird. So like people will start to spill things to you that I feel like they wouldn't spill otherwise if they weren't sitting in a chair, getting
for like a long period of time, just constantly
getting drilled. Yeah, basically. Yeah, no, people have spilled some really personal stories, and then a lot of therapy work has been done on my part for people sitting in my chair. It's funny how that happens, I feel like that doesn't really happen with other types of fields like that. So like for hairdresser, I'm sure.
I feel like
they talk about that stuff.
Yeah, but not as in depth. In depth because
and I think it's just the hours you're sitting there. Like you're there 6 to 8 hours sometimes tattooing someone. Like you have nothing else to do except to talk, and people will spill their deepest, darkest secrets to you. There was my mentor, who taught me how to tattoo. For some of it, because a lot of it I'm self-taught. Okay. So I apprenticed for 6 months. So before that, I was self-taught apprenticed for 6 months. And then my mentor, who was a total asshole, by the way. That's why I'm not an apprentice anymore.
Oh, okay.
But he told me the story where he had a lady come in and he was tattooing her. She walked in with her husband.
Mm-hmm.
And they were acting all lovey-dovey, holding hands and everything. And he had to go to work. So he left her there to get tattooed. And then she just starts to talk all this shit on her husband.
Oh, no. As soon as he
so
leaves.
much shit. And then she has the audacity to have a visitor come in.
Oh, no.
To watch her get tattooed.
Not a side piece.
It was her side piece, and he stayed for the remainder of the tattoo.
Oh my God.
Yeah, almost immediately after her husband left.
What the fuck?
And that was a common thing that you would see.
Really?
And then they proceeded to tell him about their relationship and everything. And he was like, hey, please don't tell my husband.
That is so crazy.
That's the kind of things you see.
What the fuck, for real?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. People are crazy that get tattoos.
And so, like, would you say that people have had similar experiences to you growing up and, like, experiencing what you experience when people sit in the seat?
Oh, yeah, like bad childhoods?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I think a majority do. I think everybody has had a rough childhood, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking of everyone that's been in my chair and who has kind of spilled, their stories to me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember, like, one person who has told me that they've had a nice childhood.
Right.
They always have, like, a story to tell about how their childhood was rough and, like, they grew up in difficult situations and then it affected their adulthood and stuff like that. And then me as a therapist, I wouldn't say I'm a therapist, but I would just...
Tattoo artist / therapist.
Yeah, I think the best kind of therapy is just to have someone listen to you. So I would just listen, give a little bit of insight, kind of tell my life story too. And it was just kind of like a back and forth type thing with people. But it really, I could see at the end of the session, sometimes people just looked so much lighter when they left. That's why a lot of people get tattoos that have had difficult lives. I think it is a type of therapy, getting kind of hurt and then spilling your story and then having something to show for it. I think it is a type of therapy.
Wow.
That's
I never really thought about
said.
it that way.
A lot of people say that, like, that's why they get tattoos is because it is a type of therapy for them. And then it becomes addicting.
Right. And it's like a art that they can show off, like, on their body.
Exactly.
Because their whole body's a canvas.
Right. Yeah, I think some of it stems from insecurity too. So, like, someone could come in super insecure about their body or, like, something that they're going through, and then when they get the tattoo they want, they look so much more confident. It's interesting. Like, they're so much more okay with their body. They're so much more okay with what happened to them in the past. Yeah, it definitely is therapeutic for some
it's
people.
Like they come in and they get that, like, something to show for what they went through.
Exactly. Almost. Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
So a way to help their pain.
Right. And what made you want to become a tattoo artist?
So I think it was 11 when I started watching Miami Ink.
Okay.
LA Ink, Miami Ink, those shows. And then Kat Von D was such a bad bitch.
Kat Von D.
Like, man, I want to be her. When I was this shy little kid, I was like, that's who I want to be. That's
shy
who I want to emulate.
11-year-old Maya.
Yeah. That's who I want to emulate. Because she was so confident. She was so outgoing. And she was so talented. And back then, like, all I did was draw. Like, all I did was sit in my room, have no friends, but I would draw all the time. So she really became a role model for me. And then when I would watch those shows, I felt this, like, fiery passion. I was like, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. That's what I want to do when I grow up.
Right.
So I remember making it a point in my life to get really good at drawing so that when the opportunity arose, I could go and try to apprentice at a shop when I became old enough. And then I went into finance.
Finance was the precursor to your tattoo artist career.
So the reason why I never actually followed through with an apprenticeship when I did become of age was because of all of the horror stories that I heard about apprenticing. So I don't know if you've
I've
heard about
never
the
heard of
industry. Okay.
I don't know anything about the industry.
So the old school shop mentality is that if you have the opportunity to apprentice, you will be hazed, you will be downtrodden, you will be berated, you will be belittled, all of this shit, right? Because it's a rite of passage. Like you don't just get to tattoo,
right?
Like you have to earn it. You have to go through the pain, you know?
Almost like you had to be tattooed yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
it's like that rock old head mentality,
Yeah.
like, you know, biker type shit.
Yeah.
And I fucking hated that.
You didn't want to go through that.
Like I wasn't about that. Like here I am, this girly girl, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to immerse myself in that. I didn't want to be abused. And they'll do that. They'll treat girls like that.
That's
they don't
crazy.
Care.
Does it still happen to this day?
Oh, absolutely. That's why I left mine. It wasn't as bad as other shops, but they definitely... I'm not all about, like, the victim mentality, right? I don't like when women are, like... They use, like, misogyny as a card, right, to pull. But they were actually misogynists.
That's
you
crazy.
know what I mean? Like, they definitely treated women different. And then, yeah, in the industry, like, they treat apprentices no matter what horribly. If you're a dude, you'll be treated way better than if you're a chick trying to get into the industry in an old school shop.
Okay.
So, yeah, you will definitely be made fun of. You'll be, you know, just belittled, and like you'll be made fun of, and you'll be made to do extreme things. Some women go through sexual harassment in a shop, and they're told that they're lucky to be there, so they shouldn't complain. All of this shit, you know. And so I luckily didn't have to go through any of the sexual harassment. They weren't like that, the place that I was at, thank goodness. But yeah, you'll see a lot of that in the industry. So I never went for it because I was like, I don't want to go through that. Everybody that I had talked to who was an apprentice before went through that. I'm not going to put myself through that. There's no way I could handle that. I can barely handle talking to people.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So never truly went for it, although I had opportunities. Because there was several shops I remember going to where I would show my portfolio, and they were like, we would love to have you, but just know we're going to treat you like shit.
So they just told you straight up.
They were straight up about it. And I was like, hell no. No thanks.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that was like a thing in tattoo shops.
Yeah, it's definitely becoming a thing of the past. Okay. So that old school mentality is definitely going down the drain. I think just because with a lot of these progressive movements starting to infiltrate our society, it definitely is starting to spill over into the tattoo community, which is actually a good thing. Because they're kind of starting to nip that stuff in the bud. Yeah. So you're starting to see a lot of those old school shops, a lot of these biker shops with that type of mentality start to kind of go down the drain, you know? They're having trouble getting people to come and get tattoos there because there are so many people now opening their own shops. Like you have so many of these people who do like PMU girls who are starting to do like tiny tats. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've seen
permanent
those.
Makeup artists that are doing these little tattoos, and they're opening these little like shops that have pink everywhere, and you know it's very opening and inviting and girly, and a lot of girls like that. A lot of girls like going to that environment rather than going to a shop that's blaring, you know, screamo rock and roll all day. It's intimidating as fuck. And then you see those people there that work there, and they also are very intimidating. Not to sound rude, but they just are. I mean, and the way that they act is intimidating.
Whereas, just off as like first glance, like when you see someone, it's just like
they look intimidating.
I'm
it is
scared
what
to
it
go
is.
into that shop.
Exactly. Whereas you have a lot of other people, and a lot of people that have done an official, I guess you could say, apprenticeship. They're starting to move away from that old school mentality, and they're opening their own shops too, and they're creating these amazing environments where it's just you and the client rather than being in this big intimidating shop. It's just you and the client, and you have this incredibly like personal experience, you know, in a setting where it's not intimidating. It's just
Right.
you and your tattoo artist, and that movement is growing huge. A lot of tattoo artists are starting to move towards that type of thing now. So thankfully, I'm very happy that the tattoo industry is changing into something like that rather than what it's been for a long, long time.
Right.
So it's good things are happening.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for sure. For
yeah.
sure. I definitely noticed in Atlanta that there's a lot more small shops opening up for,
Really?
yeah.
Have you
for,
noticed it here?
I have noticed it here. Yeah. So a
Okay.
lot of people, what they would do is like, they kind of went the similar route you did. They would take an apprenticeship, and then I don't know if they followed through with their apprenticeship or not, but most of the time, a majority of the time, they would either work from home or they would find a tattoo shop that they kind of liked working at, the environment that they enjoyed being in, and then from there, like, they would just bring their clients to that shop. Yeah.
A lot of people are becoming way more picky with how they're treated.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, my apprenticeship, the reason why I left was, so when I first started, I showed them my portfolio. They liked my work. They actually were looking for 2 years to find someone to onboard.
2 years.
They didn't want to apprentice anyone.
Wow.
But they had such a hard time bringing someone to bring into this no drama environment, is what they said.
Okay.
And
usually those types of environments are drama.
Hey, there you go. Yeah.
Yep.
And so they liked me because I'm a very chill, laid back woman.
Yeah.
And I think the boss could see that. He definitely could see that. And after his 2-year search, he's like, fine, I'll take an apprentice. Like, if I can't find an artist, I'll create my own, is what he basically said.
Okay.
So, had the interview with him. It was an intimidating as fuck. He basically said, at my shop, we do things a little different. Like, you won't experience any hazing here. We'll treat you with respect, but just know that we're very blunt. We're going to tell you how it is. We'll call you out. And I was fine with that. Like, I'm okay with bluntness.
Like, that's what you sign up for.
Exactly.
Is to, like,
I like constructive criticism. I can handle someone being blunt. What I'm not going to tolerate is disrespect.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so with that promise, I was like, hey, well, at least I'm going to be treated well here. At least I'm going to be treated with respect. And I'm not going to be like the typical apprentice who's going to be, belittled,
Yeah.
and
basically
just treated like a dog.
Yeah.
Like the shop bitch. I never wanted to be that. So anyway, so after his interview, I interviewed with the whole shop then. So he called me back for another day and he was like, you basically got the position. He was like, but I just need to have everybody else meet you too. And that was an intimidating, oh my gosh.
That sounds intimidating. A whole ass shop interview? What?
So it was a shop of, so the owner, and then he had like his, like manager, I guess you could say.
Okay.
So he would become my second mentor. So I had my first mentor, second mentor, and then there was 3 other people.
Okay.
And the other 3 people were freaking awesome. They really were. But man, my 2 mentors. So let me tell you. So I started, right? Passed the interview with the other shop members. And then I'll call him mentor 2.
Okay.
After he interviewed me, he was like, I just want you to know. He was like, I'm a shark and I can smell blood. He was like, I'm a shark. He was like, so don't bleed in the water.
Okay.
And basically that means that you can't show any weakness or any fear.
Yeah.
He was like, because
or he'll
come.
He'll eat you up.
Yeah, exactly.
You up. Yeah.
Is what he was trying to say. And I was like, okay,
I'm a shark.
I laughed because I was like, hey, that's funny. Haha.
Yeah, that's
You're
just
trying to
kinda
intimidate
funny.
me.
Yeah, yeah.
You're trying to intimidate me. Okay. And but he also said, he was like, we won't yell at ya. We'll treat you with respect as long as you treat us with respect. And I was like, cool, this is going to be a cool environment. It's going to be hard as fuck because they promised it would be hard. And I was like, I can do hard things. I've done hard things.
Yeah, because you've already went through it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was mentally preparing myself for, long hours. I was going to be there all the time. I was going to be drawing a lot. I was going to be practicing a lot. I was going to be taking phone calls, greeting people, like cleaning the shop, like cleaning up after all my mentors and cleaning up after everybody else, honestly. And manning the shop and just maintaining everything. That was my job. So I knew all of that up front, and I was willing to do that. And I did do that.
Right.
Very well. I don't think I've ever worked as hard as I did. I did working the 6 months there. I don't think I've ever pushed myself so hard as far as like laborious work goes.
Right.
It was cool to see how hard I could push myself in that way. I didn't know my body could take so much.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It was like, so this is what my days look like. So every day I would go in at 10 a.m. And I was always there 15 minutes early. So 10 a.m. was the time I was supposed to be there, but I was always there 15 minutes early. Just to look like a good noodle.
Yeah. Just
to be good.
Yeah, just to prove yourself that you're a good worker.
I'm going above and beyond here.
Yes,
you know what I mean? So I'd show up.
Some effort.
Exactly. So I would show up 15 minutes early every day. I'd start my day by opening up the shop. So that meant turning on all the TVs, making sure the shop was clean, opening the doors, getting everything ready for the day for everybody. So that meant setting up stations. And that was like a 15 to 20 minute job every time. But let me tell you, if I messed something up, if I didn't set up a station right, mentor number 2, oh my goodness, towards the end, so at the beginning, he was a little understanding.
Right.
Because I was new. But towards the end, he became the biggest fucking asshole. Can I swear on this? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, we've already been doing it. It doesn't really matter.
And I'll get to that. But so that was my job, is to help set up the stations, get everything prepared for their tattoos for the day. And then throughout the day, I would either be at the front drawing if I didn't have an appointment, because I would tattoo people for walk-ins.
Right.
That was my job. I would take in walk-ins.
Okay.
So if I wasn't drawing up at the front, I was either tattooing people or I was answering the phone, or attending people that would walk in, answering questions, if I was called by anybody in the back while they were tattooing, I was to attend to people. I was just to make sure that everything ran smoothly throughout the day for everybody.
Right.
That was my job.
You're basically like that backbone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I managed everything for them. And the days turned out to be very long every day. So I was there about 10 to 12 hours, depending. So the shop closed at 7 p.m.
Okay.
I was usually there till like 9, sometimes 10. If depending on the day, I was lucky to get off on time. Like that was a lucky day for me. It was either like 9 or 10.
Is it because of like some clients are just there finishing up their tattoos?
Yeah. So like my job also was to stay. So if past closing time, if another artist was still working,
okay,
I was to stay. So and clean up after them. So, and then I was still learning. So it would take me a long time to finish up a tattoo for myself. Sometimes I would have like 5-6 hour long day depending on the tattoo. And then at the end of my shift or at the end of the tattoo, I'd have to clean up my station and set up my station and then clean up everybody else's stations too.
Okay.
And that took me a long time because again, I had to be meticulous. When I cleaned, it's like you have to disinfect everything in a certain way. And if it's not done a certain way, you get yelled at. So, let's say like I do something out of order. So like I wipe down the trash can first rather than wipe down the chair first. If I did the trash can first, I would get yelled at. And
what the fuck?
Yeah. So like you have to be careful with everything that you do. And you have to remember to do everything correctly because it could turn into like a circumstance where it's like a
cross-contamination.
There you go. Cross-contamination. Okay. So you do have to do everything correctly. But man, let me tell you, I was so like anxious all the time. Like I was worried that I was going to miss a step.
Did you not get any help at all? Like closing from the other tattoo?
Hell no.
They literally just like, oh, we got an apprentice doing this for us. Like,
basically.
wow.
Yeah. So well, scratch that. There were some days where they were gonna stay late. Like I'm talking to like 11 or 12, and
Holy
they'd be
shit.
like, "Okay, you can go. Like I'm gonna be here late."
Mm-hmm.
That was a rare occasion though. So for the most part, if someone was staying, I was staying.
Okay.
So again, my job was to clean up after everybody, and then after I cleaned up the stations, I would have to clean up the shop, and that took a long time. Like that would take me about 30 minutes.
Right.
And then my mentor number one, owner of the shop, he had OCD, like legitimate OCD. So if anything was out of place, this is why it took me so long to close down the shop every night, is because if anything was out of place and he saw it in the morning, if he got there before me in the morning and he saw that, say, like a business card was out of place,
Oh my God.
I would get like reamed for it.
What the fuck?
Yeah, he would sit me down and he'd be like, "So are you taking this seriously?"
A business card.
He's like,
out of place.
He would literally sit me down and he'd be like, "Listen, Maya, we have a different standard here." It's like, I am OCD and blah blah blah. I can't have my shop looking, out of place. And this shop was spick and span clean. Let me tell you, which is a cool thing about like our shop. It really was clean, and it was held to a different standard. But to be that anal about everything caused just so much anxiety. It was horrible.
Yeah, that's going a little bit too overboard.
And what sucks too is like when I would do something like that, like say I didn't put enough cups up on the water machine for people, and I would get reamed at for it, he would berate me in front of clients, whether it was my clients or clients around the shop. And that was hella embarrassing. I was like, I thought I was supposed to be respected here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff started happening more often as the apprenticeship started progressing.
As he got more comfortable.
That stuff started ramping up, and I was like, "Hey, I understand this stuff more towards the beginning, because I did get a lot of that at the beginning, but then when it started to progress and they started to get more and more nasty, I was like, what is happening? I thought this was supposed to be getting better. As I'm improving, my skills are improving, and I'm doing more for the shop. Why then am I
why am I taking all this shit?
Why am I getting even more shit?"
Right.
And like the reaming got worse, not only just from the owner, but from mentor number two. He started getting so freaking just vile, and he always was vile. Like he has a nasty personality towards everyone.
Right.
But towards the end of my apprenticeship, so that's what I dealt with every day. That's kind of the gist of it. I dealt with like them being, prissy bitches a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Being so meticulous about everything. But really towards the end, mentor number 2, he liked to bring a lot of stress home to the shop. So he was trying to buy like a house or something.
In a no drama free zone.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, he was the most dramatic person ever. He and mentor number 1, they were constantly getting into hissy fights together. Seriously. The first couple weeks into my apprenticeship, they almost got into a fighting match.
What the fuck? Like they almost set up a whole ass match to just.
And the reason for the fight was because owner told mentor number 2 that his tattoos were half-assed. And mentor number 2 blew up, and he was like shaking, and he was like, "That joke went too far." He was like, "I'm gonna fucking hit you. I'm gonna fucking hit you so hard." It was ridiculous. I was like, my second weekend, I was like, what did I get myself into? So that's just their egos. Oh my gosh, the egos.
Yeah. I feel like that's a common thing in like all salons, not even just like tattoo shops or tattoo studios, but just like any nail salon, any beauty salon, any tattoo studio, just any creative environment where a bunch of creatives just meet up. It's just a lot of ego clash.
Oh my gosh, yes. I don't know why that is. It's like all these creatives get together and they all want to one-up each other.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. And like the shop claimed that they wanted to have this like, community
safe
type
environment.
thing.
Yeah.
But instead they were all like fighting each other and stuff. So anyway, it was stupid. So towards the end of my apprenticeship, I was exhausted every single day.
I bet.
Like, I was trying to be the most perfect little apprentice ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was dealing with shit that I didn't agree to deal with at the beginning. But I was doing it because this was my dream.
Right.
I told myself this has been my dream since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to push past this. I can do hard things. I can put up with these people. You know, my apprenticeship probably isn't going to be that much longer, you know.
Did they even specify?
They didn't give me
They
an
didn't
end
specify?
date. Yeah,
Wow.
they didn't give me an end time. One of the mentor number 2 said that I'm doing well enough. I'm going to graduate this year.
Mm-hmm.
But the other mentor was like,
Still need some more time.
He needed more time. He needed more work out of me.
Yeah.
So, anyway, towards the end, mentor number 2, he was stressed out because he was trying to buy a house. That's, I guess, what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a nasty asshole if he didn't have his weed in the morning. And that, some days I could tell when he didn't smoke because he would unleash at me. So I'm trying to think, what did he get mad at me for that one time? It was actually quite a few times, but I'm trying to tell like a story that would be interesting. So what really drove me to leave, one of his blow-ups. So he told me after I had just got done cleaning up everybody's station. This is like a 30-minute job every time because I'm trying to be meticulous.
Yeah.
Right? I take my time.
Right.
And it's not because I'm being lazy. It's because I don't want to get yelled at. So I just get done finishing up my coworker station. And he was like, hey, can you break my station down? Which means to clean up. And I'm like, sure. And this man didn't mention that he needed to leave quickly. He didn't mention anything about that. He's claimed to have said that, but I didn't hear it.
Right.
He just kind of gave me that instruction, like he flung it at me.
He probably just
hey,
said
clean
it
up
in
my
his
station,
mind.
you know?
Yeah.
Can you break me down? And I was like, sure, yeah, I'll get to it. I'm not even joking when I tell you I took a 2-minute break to go back to my desk to tell Bryce I was going to be late coming home because I had to clean up his station.
Right.
And it was at the end of the night already. Apparently he had to go to like a tattoo convention that night, which is weird.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah. And
at the end of the day. Okay.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I go back to my desk for 2 minutes to eat something really quick and to text my husband that I was going to be late. And I go back to the floor to clean up his station and someone walks in the door. And this is like at 6:55 p.m.
Okay.
So I was like, shit, okay, I have to go attend to them because that's my job.
Yeah.
So I walk back to the front, attend to the people. I'm like, hey, it's a little too late. I can't, you know, give you a walk-in, or I can't tattoo you because it's too late. You can try coming back tomorrow. It was like a 5-minute conversation because we went over what they wanted and everything. I go back out to the floor after I'm done talking with them. And mentor number 2 is cleaning up his station in a huff. Like, he is so angry. So I go up to him, and I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like, I had to talk to those people. Is there anything I can do to help you break down at this point? He was like, no, you can just go fucking sit up where you usually do. He was like, just go up to the front. He was like, and do nothing like you always do. He's like, you need to stop being so fucking lazy. Wow. He's like, I'm not going to wait an hour for you to break me down. He was like, you need to start stepping it up. And I was like, you're kidding me. I was like, he literally told me to my face that I'm being lazy when I'm there 15 minutes early every day, working all day long for free, mind you.
Yeah.
For free. Leave every night late, an hour late every night.
And not even complain.
No complaining. I never complained. And he proceeds to call me lazy and is swearing at me and in front of clients too. There's clients there still. And this lady, she looks at me all wide-eyed from across the room that my mentor's tattooing. And I just look at her and I can feel my eyes like start to tear and my throat tightening up. Oh, and I forgot to mention I'm not allowed to cry. So they told me
They
that
said you're not allowed to cry.
they said that if I cried, I'd be fired.
Oh, because he's a shark. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Well, the owner said that
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
I wasn't allowed to cry.
Mm.
He was like, because they don't allow softness in the shop.
That's insane.
Yeah. So,
What? So
no
did
tears,
they allow
no crying.
tears for the customers there or the clients there?
Yeah, the clients are allowed to cry.
But not the
not
artist.
the apprentice.
Oh, what the fuck,
So,
dude?
I wasn't allowed to cry, wasn't allowed to complain, wasn't allowed to contest. I was literally told before, because one time when mentor number 2, he got out at me for another time, something similar. And then I respectfully was like, you never told me to do this, because he was getting at me for something that he didn't tell me to do. And I was like, hey, you never told me to do that. I got in trouble for that. I almost got fired for saying that.
For talking back.
Yeah, owner number 1 came up to me and he was like, I just want you to know that we have the power to fire you, to get rid of you. He was like, so next time, hold your tongue.
That's crazy.
He was like, sit down, hold your tongue, and do what you're told.
Wow.
And I was like, again, like the whole time I was like, you can do hard things. You can do hard things, right?
Yeah, but like being treated less than human is just...
Exactly.
That's just like...
And it was kind of, honestly, it was like brainwashing in a way, because they kept telling you, they keep telling you as an apprentice that you should be so grateful that you actually landed an apprenticeship, which is really hard to do. It really is. It's so hard to get an apprenticeship nowadays, because tattoo artists don't want to teach anyone now, you know, because it's such a saturated industry. They don't want to teach anyone new, and it takes a lot of time. But yeah, they really do treat you like a dog.
I mean, for tattoo artists, like, you would want to have an apprenticeship, because like if you're doing an art form, right, and you want people to also contribute to that art form too, you would want to pass along the knowledge that you have to someone else too,
right,
and impart them with some, like, you know, tips, advice, skills, just everything to continue on that art form that you fell in love with the first place. Yeah.
And not have it be like a military type environment.
Yeah.
This is an art skill, dude.
Yeah.
That's what killed me the whole time. So I didn't expect to be treated like a military, like, person.
A cadet,
you know? Or like a cadet. It
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was a cadet. That's how it started to feel. And that's how, like, they would talk to me. Very, very blunt. Like, hey, cadet.
Yeah.
You didn't do that right. You know what I mean? That's how it started to feel. And it was not what I signed up for. Like, I was there to learn an art skill.
Right.
My God, it's like fucking learning oil painting.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. And you started making that realization.
Towards the end, I was like, it started getting so bad from mentor number 2. Mentor number 1 was starting to let up, because I think he started seeing, like, I was so downtrodden. Like, he could see the burnout on me. Because dealing with mentor number 2 started to get, there's so many stories I could tell you, but he was starting to get so unbearable, like treating me like that in front of people all the time, like barking orders at me, no respect, like, and it was weird because he would be nice to me sometimes, and sometimes he would make me feel like he was my friend. Like, he'd buy me lunch and he'd be super freaking nice to me. And then the next moment he would snap. So it was like, I was constantly
kind of like bipolar.
Yes, I was constantly on eggshells. Like, is he going to be my friend right now, or is he going to be like my enemy?
Right.
And it started to be like a mentally, like, taxing thing. I was constantly anxious around him. And then what finally drove me to leave was so the week prior, it was the stupidest thing, but somebody left out the mop bucket and left it filled up with water.
Oh no.
It wasn't me.
Why is it always every single place I go to, there's always some fight around the mops?
Is it really?
Yes, it's always the mops.
I swear, maybe mops
Maybe
have some
people
kind
just
of weird spirit tied to them.
Yeah, people just
I don't
fucking
know.
hate mops. I guess I don't know.
Literally, it was so dumb. So somebody left the mop bucket full. This is the mop bucket that you use to, like, wipe down your station.
Okay.
Or the floor after you're done tattooing someone. And so you're supposed to drain that out every night if you're the last one in the shop. I was always the last one in the shop for the most part. So the other week I wasn't. It was this girl. She forgot to drain the mop bucket. And mentor number 2 started working on Sundays when nobody else came into the shop because he was trying to make extra money to buy his house.
Right.
And when that girl didn't drain the mop bucket, he was like, who did this? He sent a group chat or a group message to everybody in the shop. He was like, this is unacceptable. Like, who didn't drain this? And she fessed up and she was like, hey, it was me. And he thought it was me though.
So
and
he called you out by name.
Yeah. He
Wow.
was about to just lay it on me. He was like, oh, I thought it was Maya. He was like, she was about to get, she was about to get chewed up.
Yeah.
He was like, but if it was you, I get it, dude, and whatever. He was like, wrote
Favoritism.
it off. Well, it's just treating the apprentice like shit.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what it boils down to. So it's just you're the low bear on the totem pole, right?
Yeah.
So you're the one that gets all the shit.
Yep.
So next week rolls around and it was a hard ass week, let me tell you. Like every day I was getting in trouble for something that wasn't merited. Owner 1 was being, a little bitch like he usually was. And like what happened? So I found it really hard. It was kind of like in between tax season and people weren't getting their returns like they expected. So there wasn't a lot of walk-ins coming in. So I was really feeling like down on myself because I didn't have any walk-ins for the week. I was stressed out because I wasn't getting paid. It's already been 6 months. Like I wasn't getting paid consistently. And I was starting to stress out about the whole thing, about the apprenticeship. I was like, I don't even know if I want to be here. Dealing with all of this mental turmoil, plus how much this is taking out on my body being here every day so late. Like I didn't know if I could take it anymore.
5 days a week, right? Or
Tuesday to Saturday.
Yeah. Okay. So 6. So yeah. 6 or 5 days. Yeah, okay. 5. Sorry, I can't math.
No, you're good. So long story short, end of the weekends comes. It's Saturday. I get a walk-in and it's late. Like I get it at like 5:30, I think is what time it was. Okay. But I took it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this opportunity. I'm going to tattoo. So I get done with the client. Mentor number 1 is still there with his client. And when I finished my tattoo, he comes over to me and he was like, hey, you're doing a really great job. Like, I just want you to know, don't be discouraged. Sometimes I got that. Sometimes I got, encouragement, and it felt really nice. It was mostly from the owner. He had moments where he would encourage me, and that always felt good because it was a very rare thing.
Right.
And when he told me that, I held in my tears. I tried not to cry. He was like, suck it up. And I was like, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm feeling kind of down. And he was like, I get it. This is a hard industry. The walk-ins will come. Your clientele will build. He was like, just keep at it. He was like, this is the moment in your career where you're going to want to quit. And I was like, yeah. And I wanted so badly to tell him, hey, like, it's not just because I'm exhausted. It's because like I need to be treated better. Yeah. I wanted to say that, but he wouldn't have listened.
Yeah.
So I'm exhausted after that. He tells me he wants to cut me a break. He's like, hey, don't worry about cleaning the shop tonight. Like, you can just go home. So we walk out together and nobody drains the mop bucket. Okay. Cause I have a checklist that I do every night to make sure everything's done. Mop bucket is on one of those.
Right.
I didn't do that because I was let go early. Okay. Sunday rolls around and mentor number 2 freaks out. He sends a message to the group chat and he was like, I thought this was after last week. This wouldn't have happened again. Who didn't drain this? And I was like, shit. I was like, I'm going to get reamed. So I put in the group chat, I was like, it was me. And then he sends me this long ass text message. And it's a novel.
You have it saved.
Yeah, I have it saved just in case they took me to court or something because I was worried
it was
about
that serious?
Can you believe that? Over a freaking
Over a
bucket.
fucking mop bucket?
Yeah. Can you believe that?
What the fuck?
Yeah, here you go.
Oh my God. What the fuck am I looking at?
He was like, this was Maya.
Okay.
He was like, this was Maya. Maya, what's up with you lately? You seem to be dropping the ball a whole bunch and it's starting to be an issue. I made a point out of the mop bucket last week, and this week you let it happen. You think you would know better. You're supposed to have your flash sheet done every week, at least 2 large pieces, and you're supposed to show them to myself. These last 2 weeks I had to ask you what you've been working on, and you didn't take the initiative to show me. I'm not sure if you're showing anyone else, but when we set up these assignments, it was understood that each Saturday you were to have a sheet finished. I'll explain this after.
Okay.
I'm not sure why you only check things off with... Oh, did I say their names? Make sure you bleep that
Okay,
off.
okay. I'll make sure my editor bleeps them out.
I'm not sure why you only check things off with mentor number 1 and not myself as we discussed in the past, as you should do both. You have had a bit of an attitude at the shop lately as well, and it's been noticed by more than just myself. I'm not sure what's going on with you, but something needs to be adjusted. Show some ambition, show some drive, take some damn initiative. You're past the point in your apprenticeship that you shouldn't have to be told what to do. We shouldn't have to hold your hand at all anymore. It seems we repeat ourselves every day in some way. I hope that something is up with you and you can make an adjustment, because otherwise it seems that you're wasting everybody's time here. I'm saying this in the group message so that there are no secrets and everything is up front. I've been biting my tongue and waiting to see if you would correct your course, but it seems like you're going off the rails. It's time to dial shit back and get focused.
What the fuck?
And this is...
Over a mop bucket.
Over a mop bucket. And that was the moment where I was like, I have zero respect. I was like, if you feel this way about me, why can't you pull me to the side?
Yeah, and tell
me
in
privately,
person. Yeah.
or yeah. Like, why did you have to say that in front of the whole shop's group message?
And then the week prior, when that girl didn't do it, he was just like,
didn't have anything to say.
Yeah. What the fuck?
What's worse is that everything that he said in that text message is delusional. I did everything I was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And he acted as if I was doing nothing.
Did your other shopmates not back you up at all?
No.
Wow.
Nobody backed me up at all.
That's crazy.
Nobody backed me up when they were my friends. Mm-hmm. Literally. At least I had them there.
You saw them
and
every day.
They saw me work my ass off every day too. They saw me busting my ass.
Stand up for you at all.
Even the owner. So after I told you about that time that I got yelled at by mentor number 2, mm-hmm. the owner came up to me right after that incident, and he was like, hey, I'm not picking sides or anything. He was like, I don't know what happened there. He was like, but I just want you to know that you're not lazy and you're doing a great job. And you do so much for this shop, and I see how hard you're working. And he was saying all this stuff to me. And he waited to say that stuff to me after mentor number 2 left, of course. Right? But it's like, okay, so you feel this way. You mm-hmm. see how hard I'm working, yet mm-hmm. you can't pipe up and at least respond back in that text.
Yeah.
And back me up.
Right.
It's like, bro. Okay, so.
And that's basically the whole summary of old shop mentality.
Yeah. And I completed all my assignments all the time. Mm-hmm. Whenever I went up to mentor number 2 to pass off my assignments, he would ignore me and he would tell me he was busy, too busy. He was always too busy to talk to me whenever I went up to him first.
Okay.
And then he tells me, he has the audacity to tell me, take some damn initiative.
He's probably too busy typing up a whole ass paragraph for you or some shit.
Oh my gosh. He was always too busy to give me the time of day. Every time I walked up to him, it was as if I was the biggest nuisance in the world. So I didn't go up to him. I went up to the owner most of the time for stuff, to pass off stuff. So everything he said was a complete delusion. He was just an insane person. And after that, I realized, you know what? I can't deal with these type of people. I can't deal or be around people who don't have my back at all.
Yeah. It's crazy that your coworkers didn't even fucking back you up there.
Not at all.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because that's the mentality.
Yeah.
You're treated like a dog. If you're an apprentice, nobody will
But that's just like, I
stand up
like
for you.
who would want to work in that kind of environment? Like, it doesn't matter if that's like the norm in the industry. Like,
That's
if
what
you're
they
trying,
contest. It's like, well,
yeah,
this is normal. This is how it's supposed
like
to
why
be.
would you want to go with the crowd and then, just kind of sit back like, yeah, sure, you can do that. Or if you respect another human being as a human, like you would want to stand up for that
Why not
person.
change? Like, why not
Yeah,
make a change in the industry, like
exactly.
a good
Why
change?
not be different
Why
than,
not repeat the cycle? Why do you guys have to feel like you have to repeat the cycle of
yeah,
abuse?
yeah,
Like, why is that a tradition?
that's so stupid.
Yeah. So that's why I left. I literally got my shit out that night. I was like, I am done. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I can't take it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I can't take the disrespect. Can't take the abuse anymore. And they were constantly gaslighting me. It was just, I started seeing a lot of things afterwards that I was like, wow, I let a lot of shit slide.
Mm-hmm.
And I was treated like a 5-year-old every day. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
hello, I'm 30.
Right.
Like, I took a step backwards. I humbled myself coming from a degree, not a degree, but a successful career in finance.
Right.
I'm taking a successful step down
Mm-hmm.
from this career that I established for myself to be a lowly apprentice, to
Mm-hmm.
be a humble apprentice.
Yeah.
Like, does that not show enough initiative for you
Right.
guys?
Right.
It was insane.
And like, do you think shows like Miami Ink. and LA Ink. like, do you think it contributed to the shop mentality, like the old school shop mentality?
I don't know if it contributed to it, but it did show some of it.
Mm.
So I can't remember what his name was, but there was an apprentice on there named Yoji. He was from Japan.
Okay.
And Ami James.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
Ami James's apprentice, and he was treated like absolute shit in that show.
Mm.
And it was just normal. Like that's how apprentices were treated. Like that's just the culture of it.
Mm.
And it's stupid. Like it shouldn't be like that. But luckily, like I said, the progressive movement in tattooing is spilling over, and it's starting to change. Like people are starting to reject that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why there's so many self-taught tattoo artists nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And these old heads are pissed off about it, but it's like that's what happens when you treat people like shit.
Yeah, and that's what happens in a culture shift.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A culture shift.
Culture shift.
Exactly. So it's like if you're going to treat people like shit, like I'm sorry if your shops start going down everywhere.
Because
Yeah.
ultimately, like, no one wants to be in an environment like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what's unfortunate is like a lot of these people that are self-teaching like are doing really shitty tattoos and shitty work at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It sucks. But like that's the consequences of it, I guess. I don't condone that. I think an apprenticeship at a safe space type tattoo shop is the best way to go.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. I mean, I did learn a lot in my apprenticeship. A lot of stuff, broke a lot of bad habits, learned how to clean efficiently. That's like the most important thing.
Mm.
And I learned what to look for in good tattoo work.
Mm.
I learned what a shitty tattoo is compared to a good tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
So that's extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
So I do feel like an apprenticeship is a great way to go if you can find like a safe tattoo shop that isn't going to treat you like shit.
Yeah.
That isn't going to treat you like a dog.
Like supportive of what you're trying to go through and what you're trying to learn.
Supportive to you as an artist.
Right. And
you know?
just like respect you as a person.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm.
So it's possible, and they're popping up more and more everywhere. So it's just a matter of finding them.
Mm-hmm. And how would you describe your art style?
My art style?
Yeah. Since you're self-taught.
With tattooing?
Yeah.
It's everything. So for the most part, I enjoy doing American traditional.
Okay.
So that's like Sailor Jerry type stuff. Have you seen that kind of
Yeah,
stuff?
I think I know
Ed
what you're talking
Hardy
about.
type design, you know, kind of the basic.
Like the heart with the little banner.
Typical like tattoo. When you think of tattoos, like old school tattoos,
yeah.
I love that.
Mm-mm-mm.
So I would say those big, bold lines with like the basic colors, those are my favorite. And it's like also the complete opposite. So I love traditional, and then I also love fine line, which is the complete opposite of American traditional. So it's like, you know, the very dainty, you know, light shade work, mostly line work type stuff.
Mm.
So complete contrast towards one of each other. So it's like big bold lines in contrast to the fine line. So
Right.
those are my favorite styles to do for sure.
And how did you like build up a clientele?
So for clientele, a lot of the clientele came from walk-ins. Most of it's friends and family and word of mouth.
Okay.
So still working on building my clientele on social media. I'm not good at posting every day. Definitely needed to be better at that. But so most of it was walk-ins. So another blessing from an apprenticeship is getting that
exposure.
Yeah. So walk-ins was huge as an apprentice for finding more clientele for sure.
Okay.
It's hard finding clientele as
it
a
really
tattoo artist.
is. It really is.
I think as anything.
Yeah.
Right? If you're
just like starting out.
If you're starting out,
you're trying
it's
to
hard
build
to
up
find
your
clientele.
like your skill set and your brand as an artist. Like people are kind of skeptical at first to go to you.
Definitely, until you have a giant portfolio.
Yeah, and they're like, should I really trust this person to tattoo something on my body
forever?
Yeah.
So it's understandable that people are skeptical about it, as they should be.
Have you ever had someone come up to you and say, "Can you remove this tattoo for me?"
I have actually. Yeah.
Do you learn that at all?
No.
Okay.
You don't learn that. You can cover up a tattoo. So like if someone is ever asked me, can you remove this? I'm like, well, you'll have to go get it lasered if you want it totally gone, but we can cover it up for you. Maybe. Because some tattoos are not coverable.
Right.
If it's too dark, can't cover it up.
Right.
But yeah, they don't teach you how to remove it because you have to have like high-tech laser type things for it.
Right. So they basically only teach you to cover up a tattoo and not get rid of that tattoo.
Exactly.
That's kind of contradictory almost, right?
Yeah, it is contradictory. Most people prefer a cover up because laser removal is more painful and it's super, super expensive.
How much? Ballpark.
So ballpark, like say you wanted to remove like a inch long butterfly tattoo off of your wrist. That would be probably 3 sessions.
3 sessions?
3 sessions, and each session is about $500 to $600, $700.
What the fuck?
That's the ones I've seen.
That's crazy.
It's expensive. Super expensive.
Basically $1,500 for 3 sessions?
Yeah. It's wild. They make a lot of money there.
Wow.
I could be wrong with pricing, but that's what they quoted me for mine.
Okay. That's insane.
Yeah, so I didn't end up going through with it.
What the fuck? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
it's better to just
cover up than get it removed,
or just know what you want to get
before you
really be sure that you want to get what you want forever on your body.
And so I know that you have your own studio in your house. What is that like, working from home?
It's so nice. It is the best. So at my studio, I only tattoo friends, family, and then word of mouth. Okay. Until I get enough exposure or, gather up enough clientele to open up my own like private studio. Just going to be working at home for now. But it is so nice to be in my element in contrast to the shop that had blaring music on and it was screaming and just chaotic and bad energy, bad vibes. Whereas at my home, it's just me and my client in a white room and there's plants and it's very like boho chic, like, very girly. Something different. I'm playing like trancey EDM. It's like a vibe.
That sounds like a vibe.
It's like my artistic vibe. And that's what I want to create for like my actual studio. It's so much better. So you already have like a vision of how you want absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely going to be like a hippie type vibe. Okay. Okay. Somewhere where people can come and feel comfortable and know that they're going to get good work done, but not feel like super intimidated the whole time. Right. They actually say that when you play that screamo shit, and the hard rock and roll type stuff.
Mm-hmm. Like heavy metal.
Yeah, it makes the tattoo more painful.
Does it really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they say that it's better to play like classical music.
Because you're
relaxing.
because you're just it's so soothing. You're getting a tattoo done.
Exactly.
Rather than just hearing like screaming in your ear, like
yeah. They think these old heads think that that's like enjoyable. Like, you're going through pain, so you should hear painful music.
But I think
like,
it definitely goes back to the whole like culture shift, though.
It is a culture shift. It
like,
is, yeah.
Back then versus now, everyone's more, I guess, like empathetic towards like other people's feelings, rather than back then where it's just like bravado almost. Like if you don't show bravado, like no one's gonna go to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
totally. You hit the nail on the head. Yeah, a lot of egos.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of ego.
Yeah, hey, I'm gonna pat myself on the back for that one, dude. Holy shit.
That was a good way to explain it.
Yeah.
Yep. It's so much ego, and they think that that's what attracts people. Not anymore. People don't like that.
And Maya, do you have any tips or advice for upcoming tattoo artists?
People that are wanting to get in the industry?
Yeah, people that are wanting to get into the industry.
So, like I said, I always do recommend that you get an apprenticeship. I know mine was terrible, but there are ones out there that are great. So it's just about researching, different shops in your area. But what I would recommend first and foremost, overall, everything is to actually be an artist. Something that drives me crazy is when people try to get into tattooing thinking that it's just a tracer job. It's like, no, you will be so much better in the industry if you actually have an understanding of like the basics of art.
Right.
If you can actually draw, like, I commend that. Like, I hate when people get into the industry and they can only trace. Like, it's annoying. Like, you're not going to have the fundamentals.
I mean, that's what I thought originally.
Yeah,
like,
that it's just a tracer job.
Yeah.
It can be for some people, but it's going to help you so much more if you have an understanding of
like
actual
artistically.
art.
Yeah.
Yes. Because it translates over to tattooing. Like, it's important to know light and shadow and, all of the fundamentals of actual art in order to translate that over to skin. And there's so much into tattooing and designing, like, for tattoos that is different from, like, designing something on a piece of paper. There's so much that you have to know about, like, designing tattoos because it's going to read differently on the skin.
Right.
So that's why an apprenticeship is important as well, I think, because I don't really think that you can learn all of that on your own too well. You might be able to take some courses online because, the internet is an amazing place where you can find courses on anything, right?
Yep.
So you might be able to find something on like tattoo designs and what will translate well over into skin. But yeah, what I would recommend is just get good at drawing first.
Okay.
Learn your anatomy, really learn the basics like light, shading, shadow, like all of that stuff. Like go back to like art school if you're really interested in it. A lot of graphic designers get into tattooing because you're taught all of that stuff. So first, learn how to draw, get good at drawing, and then create an amazing portfolio of like what you think your tattoo designs would be, or like what style you want to get into. So create a really, really good, clean portfolio of work that you've done and you learning how to draw. And then bring your best work to a shop, present it to the owner if they'll talk to you, and start from there. That's what I would recommend.
Okay.
If you're gonna go the self-taught route, I would look up a course that has a lot of credibility. So it's just about researching and seeing what artist is trustworthy. Like
Skillshare courses or like Udemy courses?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't say Skillshare. There's other courses like one by Ben Fisher.
Okay.
That's one that I took. He's he's a really good artist.
Yeah, I've heard of Ben Fisher.
Yeah. Really smart dude. He has a lot of good pointers. He's on YouTube. Some of his stuff is for free. I actually ended up buying his course a long time ago. It was very helpful. So I would recommend his course. Also, I think Daniel Silva has some stuff. He's a self-taught tattoo artist too.
Okay.
So if you want some inspiration, I would look at those two. And then also, if you want to look on YouTube, Art Something has a lot of amazing free tattoo tutorials, and he'll kind of go over the basics on how to tattoo safely. And then, another huge thing is learn about bloodborne pathogens and how to stay safe if you're going to tattoo people from home.
Yeah.
You know, if you really are going to do that.
Yeah, you don't want to be
you don't want to be giving everybody
patient
HIV.
zero.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just that's like probably the most important thing.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, like being safe, making sure you're not giving people diseases, like learn about how to clean and keep surfaces clean. And then another huge thing is learn about needle depth, because you don't want to be scarring people up either. So those are huge important things, but you don't even got to worry about that stuff. You have to learn how to draw first, and then learn how to do it correctly afterwards.
Okay.
That's what I would recommend.
Okay. And I don't want to say the last question, but we're going to be moving on to alien time. Ooh. So, do you believe in aliens?
I do believe in aliens, and they terrify me.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on aliens?
So my thoughts on aliens are that... Can I get weird here?
Yeah. Go for it.
So I'm a very open-minded Christian.
Okay.
And I believe that aliens are actually the fallen angels in the Bible. So in the Bible, they talk about, in the very beginning, there were these fallen angels that basically were kicked out of heaven because they followed Satan's plans instead of God's. And Satan wanted to rebel against God and basically deceive humanity. Okay? Because they were God's creation.
Right.
And so he was kicked out of heaven, and then the angels that were following him were also kicked out of heaven. And then they actually came down to earth, and they started fucking with humans. Okay. Like literally messing with their genes.
Right. Okay.
And you actually hear about all of these stories in other records too, not just the Bible, but like I think it's ancient Sumerian records. There's tablets that portray these beings coming from the sky. Okay. And they're like gods. But they're they explain how like they messed with like the human genome, and they created like the first human whose name was Adam or Adon or something. Okay. In the Sumerian tablets, so like they coincide with what the Bible says, which is crazy. And then like there's other stories from all over the world that like match the records too, about these beings falling from the sky and then messing with humans, messing with like genes to create like human beings. So I think that's who the aliens are. I think they're like fallen angels slash aliens, you know, right, who are messing with humanity right now, even to this day.
And
like
so the humans that they messed with, right, like the genome, the humans that they messed their genomes with. I'm getting brain fucked here right now. Would they be considered aliens too then?
Yeah, I think so. So I actually learned this yesterday on TikTok. Okay. So there was this thing that I saw where there is this blood type called Rh negative.
Rh negative. Yeah. I've heard of this before.
Yeah, and it only exists in 15% of the population. Right. I'm one of those Rh negative blood types. So anyone that has I think it's the rhesus negative Rh, I can't remember what the H stands for, but like anyone who has the negative blood type, it's something that scientists can't trace back to Earth at all. So everybody else has most people have the positive blood types, right? Like Rh positive. Everybody has that for the most part. But the 15%, nobody knows where they came from. Nobody knows where that blood type came from. So like the Rh positive can be traced back to rhesus monkeys, but the Rh negative, they have no idea where this came from. And I think they were able to see that it like came into, or it showed up after like humanity existed for a while. So all of a sudden it starts entering the gene pool like out of nowhere, way back at the beginning of humankind, right?
And that ties into the whole fallen angels. Oh my God.
Right. So like fallen angels came here and then they started messing with the
genome.
Yeah. And then it says also in the Bible, and then a bunch of other ancient texts too, they talk about this flood, how God had to create this flood to destroy humanity because it was tampered with. So humanity essentially was so fucking messed with by these angels or gods or whatever that God had to like send a flood to wipe out humanity and start all over. All of these records show that. Not just the Bible, but like have you heard about that?
I haven't heard about that. Okay. No. But it does coincide with like, I do know that, I don't know if it's just a US thing or if it's like a global thing, but like there are cities that are buried underwater.
Yeah, like Atlantis.
Yes, like Atlantis, or in our case in Georgia, there's a place called Lake Lanier. Yes. Yeah, there's I'm not too sure, but this is what I've been hearing from other people that have been here. I haven't done my research, so I'm just quoting off of what I've heard. But it was basically a city that was built there, and then they flooded it for some reason. I'm not too sure. I have to do more research on that. But that's why Lake Lanier has this like bad juju, bad vibe about it.
Yeah.
Why a lot of people die there why a lot of people die there every year is because like, I guess the people who live in that city, like
there's like ancient spirits like pulling
they're
people.
Just like angry.
So it's interesting that you bring that up because there is a huge like conspiracy theory going on right now on the interwebs that our current society is built over the old civilization.
I've heard of that one.
So if you kind of look at all of these older structures that exist, they say that we don't have the technology to recreate those old structures. So like I'm trying to think of like the places. So like for example the buildings in Italy or in Rome. They say we don't have the technology nowadays to recreate those buildings. Like nobody knows how they were built. They're saying that essentially like those civilizations were more advanced than us. And they kind of went through something similar. Like, you know how humanity's kind of getting more progressively fucked up.
Yeah.
So they essentially were wiped out too. And now humanity is starting to fall down that same path again. And then our current buildings and stuff are going to just be, you know, empty ghost buildings too. And then they'll build right over us.
Literally, that's what's happening around us. Like as we speak, there's a bunch of buildings that are just being, is it vacant? Yeah, they're being vacated. Yeah. And then it's just like they're just there, and now people are just destroying them and then building up new buildings in place of them.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's what's going to happen to our humanity. That's maybe. Crazy. That's the conspiracy.
Do you think it will happen in our lifetime?
I honestly think it might, just because of all of the crazy shit that's happening. Like, I've never experienced, and I'm a young person. I mean, I'm only 30. But out of all of the history, like, lessons that I've been taught, and, like, hearing what my dad's generation looked like, and then, like, other people and their experience with their generations, never have I ever heard of, like, a crazier generation than like, us. Ours right now. What we're going through and what we're seeing and the technological, like, advances that we're seeing, like, there's no way we're not communicating with aliens right now. Right. With how fast technology is accelerating, there's no way we don't have, like, some kind of intervention going on. Right. There's no way. Like, with 5G all of a sudden happening, with, like, I don't know, like, with all of this other stuff going on with, like,
Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7,
That, and then
AI.
everything else that's like destroying us, like our finances,
Yeah.
like the debt that we're in right now, and then our food is all messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Like GMOs are crazy. It's giving us cancer, and then like just everything gives you cancer, right?
Yeah,
Nowadays.
yeah, basically.
I just feel like our world is becoming uninhabitable. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I can feel it in the air, and other people feel it too.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like something ominous is happening.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you see all these videos come out all over the place of weird stuff going on in the sky.
Yeah.
Like
how that in Vegas there's like a alien crash or alien UFO crash landing and people
Yes.
seeing like aliens.
And then you're seeing like weird formations in the clouds and like things that people haven't seen in the sky before, like double suns and shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, what is happening? It's
crazy.
weird.
Yeah, it's a wild time to be alive.
It is a wild time. So, and then you have all these people believing in the flat earth and making their like they're contesting it. It's a wild time. I feel like we're on the brink of like some information being spilled about like ancient knowledge of stuff that they've kept hidden from us from like the dawn of man. I think that's about to like some serious knowledge is about to be unrevealed.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or revealed, I mean.
Yeah, unrevealed.
Yeah. You know what I meant.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think some serious shit is gonna go down.
Okay. Are you happy that you're alive during this time?
The only reason why I hesitate is because there's so much of the unknown going on right now. I think it's interesting to be alive in this moment. I think we're about to see some real crazy things happen. So in that sense, I'm happy. I think we're going to witness what a lot of human beings have never witnessed before. I'm just concerned that it's not going to be good. You know?
Yeah.
So is it exciting in a sense? Yes. But it's also very terrifying.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, Maya, I'm glad you gave us your insight on aliens, tattoos, and relationships, and just believing in yourself, having confidence in yourself. It's a very inspiring story.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
it's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you for coming on to the Probing Aliens podcast. I really do appreciate it. Until next time, peace.
Peace.
Greetings, Earthlings. If you did enjoy this episode, please do give us a like on whatever platform you were watching this / listening to this on, whether it be YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Twitter, SoundCloud, Pocket Cast. We're also on socials like Instagram, TikTok, again, YouTube. So, Twitter. Don't forget Twitter. Yeah. So, go give us a follow. Check us out.